California-based DJ and producer known for his dark and cinematic bass-driven production. He's received support from production legends like Excision, Illenium, and Steve Aoki, and he's been featured on Spotify's Bass Arcade playlist. Please welcome OMAS to the podcast. How are you doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be on today.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I'm so excited to hear about your music, your career, both of your careers, poker and music. I mean, you have so much going on. I was like reading through your story and I'm like, yeah, I got to talk to this guy.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
for the music, first and foremost, like when did that sort of start, or when did you have a moment of like, hey, I really want to like try this or try to make a career out of this?
Yeah, so coming into college, I actually had like very little exposure to EDM in general. Didn't really know much about it. I mostly listened to like hip hop and R&B in high school, and then my friends in college took me to my first concert ever, which ended up being Coachella 2020 or shit, like 20. I don't know if I can swear or not. Sorry, 20
Yeah, yeah, no, go right ahead. It's fine.
2013, 2014, something like that. And had a great time. Like saw a bunch of electronic acts. I really liked it. But then once I saw Earl Grime at that festival, it kind of all changed for me. Never really heard anything like that. And it was kind of a cool thing for me having the hip hop side of things mixed with the electronic side of things. And that all blended together into this super big inspiration for me as an artist to kind of explore it. So then, in college, like started my sophomore year, I started just DJing for fun. Nothing crazy, just DJing college parties and house parties and stuff like that. And then one of my buddies from high school, Marcus, who also is a producer and a DJ, started getting into it, and we kind of started getting to the production world together. Just kind of started bouncing ideas back and forth with one another. Was really into like the trap scene back then. And then yeah, started taking it seriously after college. I went to Icon Collective for a year, and that's kind of where the journey all started and began.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And so if there's anyone listening who's like wanting to get into DJ or do that, because I'm sort of in that spot now. I've gotten into
Mhm.
production and things like that, but really just now started to think about like DJing as an opportunity and thinking of getting into it. So what kind of like tips or advice would you have as like starting level of DJ?
Yeah, you don't need expensive equipment at all. And honestly, I see this even for like people who are kind of further down the road. Like, just get a controller, watch a couple of YouTube videos. There's a million out there. I think the ones I started with when I started dealing with like Alice in Wonderland, like how to DJ starting videos, which are kind of fun to watch. Um, and honestly, man, like DJing is not that hard. Like the ins and outs of it are like not that hard. And some people might get mad at me for saying that. Now, that being said, if you really want to get into advanced mixing and like vinyl stuff and like all the things you can do on a CJs or vinyls, then that gets a little bit more difficult. But the ins and outs of beat matching and being a creative DJ is not that hard. I say just start practicing, watch a couple tutorials on how to beat match, and then it's all about sound selection, timing, and creative mashups, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. So the Alice in Wonderland, how to do, is that Alice in Wonderland herself doing
Yeah,
the,
yeah.
that's so awesome. I didn't know
Yeah,
she had anything
she
like
has
that.
like a whole series. I think it's like I don't know. It's like I want to say 4 or 5 videos, but yeah, they're up there. They're on YouTube.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, and so, and then all of that, like on top of the music, you're a professional poker player as well.
Mhm.
Which of those kind of like came first, or which one was more interesting to you to like get into and try to
Yeah,
pursue?
so poker came first for sure. My grandma, who's now 94, is from the Philippines, taught me how to play poker and blackjack, and I was like 2 or 3 years old. So it kind of just runs in my blood. And I grew up, just playing house games with family members and friends, like nothing crazy. And then when I started getting into music, right around when I was 18 or 19, and then decided when I want to take it, or that I wanted to take it seriously. I was like, okay, well, if I leave college here and get a 9 to 5, like I know myself, I'm not disciplined enough to do a 9 to 5 and do music. I'm just gonna be too tired. I know I just can't do that. A lot of people can, and I have the most respect for people who can do that and balance both, but I knew I couldn't. So I was kind of like brainstorming. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Icon and then, really want to give this music thing a full shot. How am I gonna make money? And I was like, well, I've always played poker, and like that, thought might seem kind of crazy to people, but I started out playing pretty low stakes at casinos, a little bit online, and realized, okay, like I'm okay at this, like, not even being seasoned or proficient at all at it at the time. And then started taking it pretty seriously. I signed up for a couple coaching sites. I hired a couple coaches, like took the game super, super seriously after that. And, after a couple of years, was making a decent income from it. And that actually supported me until music started making me any money until like year 4 or 5. And now I just do both and split time between both. And it's tough. I love them both. And I get this question all the time. Like, if you had to choose one, which would you do? I don't know, to be honest. It's really hard and I go back and forth on a lot, but I'm blessed enough right now that I can do both and have enough time to, pursue both passions.
Yeah. I'm also sure that like it's hard to answer that because it probably changes like time to time. Like there are probably moments that you
Totally.
like music more, poker more, whatever. And so like I mean I read about it when researching you. You keep mentioning it here, the Icon Collective. For anyone who doesn't know, just what's that about, and can you give kind of like a pitch of as to what they do?
Yeah, for sure. So Icon's a music school in LA. It's a trade school that focuses on, all types of production, but a lot of famous producers like Nightmare, Jaws, Slander, Prototype, to name a few, have all gone through this program. And it's awesome. I went after college, I went 2017 to 2018, and it kind of just hones your skills in as a producer. But honestly, the thing I got the most out of it was the networking aspect and just the community aspect of it. Like you have producers there 24/7, just working hard, all striving towards a similar goal. And it kind of just motivated you to work as hard or harder than them. And like in like a community type of way, not like a competition, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and that's how I kind of got to meet Sully, who, I worked with a lot in a music school. We both top four for a bit and now on some music. Was Effin was there when I was there, Pauline her, and just like a huge network of different producers. So that's the coolest part to me. And I know they're a lot bigger now. I think they definitely are at a new campus and have just expanded the program. So for anybody looking to really take it seriously, it's a great year to take to kind of hunker down and focus on your craft and meet a lot of cool people.
Yeah, that's awesome. I totally get what you mean. Like even here at School for Music Production, I have a bunch of producer friends who are like, "Hey, do you want to like come to the studio?" And we're not like necessarily working together on anything. It's just like having someone near you that's is working on something really helps you like focus and be like, "All right, I gotta lock in and get these drums right," or whatever it is.
100%. Yeah, just having that person around is just a huge upper and just your, motivation in general.
Yeah, totally. And so when you're coming up with like an artist name, a DJ name, did you always know that like OMAS would be kind of like the name you wanted to go by, or was there anything else you were like
Yeah.
toying with?
No, it was always that. And I wish I had a cooler story like a lot of people I know do with the name. But I played basketball in high school and college, and my full name is Oliver Mausner. And just
Yeah.
completely separately in high school and college, my coaches just called me Omas as a nickname. And I just like the ring of it. And that's just kind of who I am. So I
Yeah.
just use it as my artist name. I wish it was a cooler story, but that's that's the
No, that's
reason
totally
behind it.
fine.
Yeah.
I kind of guessed that it was something to do with like your name because I did see a connection there, but I was always wondering because I've had some interesting conversations with people about like if they want to go by their real name, something completely like made up and not even close to their name, a mix of the two, and so
Yeah.
like it's really interesting to me like how related you want it
Totally. Yeah,
to be.
absolutely.
Um, and so I mentioned it in the intro, but I mean, with your music, you've gotten, like you said, plenty of networking from Icon. You've gotten support from huge acts like Illenium and Steve Aoki. What were those moments like being accepted by like some of the greats of the genre?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's kind of just like it's major validation. I think that's the main thing is like because we as all producers are like, am I doing things correctly? Is my music even good? All these like random questions we ask ourselves all the time, just naturally, and having support like that, kind of all ties it together. Like, okay, things are going in the right direction, and it's there were just a lot of special moments with that. Like I remember not this past Lost Lens, but the year before, I was at the main stage and during Excision and Liquid Strangers B2B set, and then playing one of my tracks live was just like surreal. Like that was the first time I was like actually there hearing my music live at like a main stage festival, and that was unbelievable. Like I definitely cried and like it was a pretty emotional moment for me. But being able to have that validation from a bunch of big artists has just been super special. I'm just super grateful for it. So that's the main thing. It definitely helps drive you that you're doing the right things and going to continue forward with the things that you're doing and then just hope for the best.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, it's Heroek, and this episode is sponsored by me. Well, kind of. If you don't know, I recently started a clothing line called Quest Clothing, which you can shop right now. I'll leave some pictures here on the screen, but we got the core collection, which is just this sleek black and white design on a bunch of products. And then we also have some more like merch style stuff with cover arts for my songs and things like that. I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm really excited that I now have it. And so expect a lot more collections, a lot more designs coming out soon. I'll leave a link to it down below, and if you want to stay up to date with any new releases or anything like that, follow at ShopQuest Clothing on Instagram. So go get cool designs like this, or even this, and you'll be helping me support all of this, the podcast, the music, everything. Plus, it just looks cool. We even got this nice big letter design on the back. Look at that. Look how cool that looks. So head to the link in the description to get yourself some Quest clothing, and make sure to follow at Shop Quest Clothing on Instagram for updates with new collections and stuff like that. And now, back to the episode. You mentioned being on these massive festival stages, which you've done a bunch of, but like it clearly there was something about that moment that got you emotional, and clearly you also like are very serious about caring about your own original music and producing that. Which
Mhm.
of those would you say like gives a better like feeling, or which one gives the higher
You're
highs?
like playing a festival or
DJing a
seeing,
festival, or
yeah.
like producing your own music?
Um, I would say they're different. Like they're both, I would say, in a way equal. Like there's like such an amazing feeling you get when you're DJing in front of a big crowd, especially at a festival like Lost Lands or Bass Canyon or whatever. And it's just a lot of fun. Like I would say those are just a lot of fun, and it's like satisfying seeing there are people there vibing with their music, people who have followed you for a while, wanting to see you play. When especially at a festival like Lost Lands, there's like a million different bass artists and people can have their choice. So that's just a really good feeling, and being very grateful that people came to see me during my time slot at these festivals. Producing, I think, is just more of like a expression of my own emotions, right? So it's kind of like a different type of high, I will say. But if I had to choose one, I don't know. I would say DJing probably live. It's just such a fun experience. But that being said, when I'm in the studio and really in flow, that's a really special feeling that's hard to beat as well.
Yeah, yeah, totally.
Mhm.
And back to the beginning a bit of like trying to, get you're taking this year at Icon, you want to take music seriously, but like still supporting yourself with poker. Was there ever a moment that really like made you question music and think like, oh, let's just go all in on poker or anything like that, or vice versa, like anything that really just gave you a moment of pause about like either career?
Yeah, I have that every single day. I've had that every single day since I started music back and forth. I would say more so now it's like, do I want to really focus on poker? Just purely because like music is so, and this is actually a good like this link point. Like even when you get to a certain level, like it's still so hard and inconsistent as far as like number one, making a career out of it, like making money. Number two, momentum and carrying momentum. Not saying like it's, you shouldn't do this because I think I would not trade this for anything in the world, but the inconsistencies of both kind of make you want to sway to the other way. Each and every day, depending on what's going on. Like if I make $10,000 in poker one day, I'll like, okay, maybe I should just do this every day. Versus like if I lose $5,000 in poker in a day, and then good things happen, music, bad things, and it's a back and forth consistently. But when I was at Icon, I would say definitely it was more for like dropping poker and just going all in on music, but I just couldn't do that because I wouldn't have any money.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's something I actually struggle with a lot, like as far as like, where I want to go from here, and I'm still figuring that out. I know this has been a very abstract answer. I'm trying to tie it all together, but
That's totally fine.
yeah, I don't know. It happens every day, and I know a bunch of producers like struggle with, okay, oh, should I just get a 9 to 5 and be, more comfortable, or really just go all in? And my advice, because I mentor a bunch of people, I've mentored producers for the last like 7 years via online schools and just individual mentoring sessions. And something I always say, and I think this is good advice in general, I personally am not with the you have to go all in 24/7, work super hard to make it in music or else you won't. I think that's actually pretty detrimental to mental health. And the producers I know that are making a good living doing something else, whether that's a 9 to 5 or some other job, as well as making time for music, are the people who are the happiest. And I think your mental health and your happiness is above anything else as someone who's gone through some crappy times in the past. Um, that's just kind of my whole perception on the whole thing. I don't know how I got to there from your question, but that's what I did.
No, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
It is like an abstract answer, but I feel like it's not as unfollowable. It's not as incoherent as you think. Like it made
Okay,
sense to me. I'm sure
good.
other people will get it. And
Okay, good.
does like make me think of, I don't know, like other big like non-traditional careers, I'll say. Like a lot of people talk about like just professional athletes or NBA stars, for example. They're like, you work so hard and you're on this like grind to make it into the league. And then you make it, and
Mhm.
everyone's like, "Oh, like that's awesome, you made it." And it's like, no, that's when the work starts. Like you got to keep going to stay in the league and make sure like you don't fall
Exactly.
out of place. And so like I get the feeling that that's what you were talking about with music. Like you got there, but now you just got to keep going to make sure it doesn't dip right back down. So
Exactly. That's it only gets harder and harder, dude. Like as you move up and up in like the hierarchy, if you will, like it only gets harder and harder and harder to stay relevant.
yeah, no, I'm
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Just
I
this
I just
competition's so hard.
I just had a music professor tell us the other day. He was like, "Yeah, and whatever you're like trying to do with music, it's like as you get older, you just get busier. It's not like people think you
Exactly.
get more free time once you're out of school and whatnot. No, you just get busier.
No, absolutely
Um,
not.
and so. For your original production, I really want to dive in. You mentioned like being able to kind of express yourself or feelings that you have. What does your creative process look like for like making a song, and how do you know that something's going to be like solo versus a collaboration, anything like that?
Yeah, so generally with my original stuff, I always start, and I also spent so long on this on just the chord progression and like kind of intro melody. For me, what I've always vibed with in productions outside of my work are like very cinematic, very epic stuff. That's why I've always kind of tended towards artists like Arl Grime or Apache or Odessa, like very big productions. So, for me, corporations and the music of it is super, super important, making sure that's all good before I even step into any sound design or any full songwriting like that. Like literally just the chord progression. I was like, does this make me feel the way I want to feel with this song? And that, is a lot of different emotions. But from there, then it's just about like getting the whole song kind of pictured out, intro, verse, drop, build, whatever you may have it. And honestly, like the drops to me usually decently come pretty easily if I spent the right amount of time making sure the melody and the production, or sorry, the melody and the chords are good. Because if that's good, you just have to find the right sounds that fit with what you're matching with, right? And that's always been my
Yeah,
creative process. From there, honestly, like 90% of the time, I'm going to find a vocalist. I'm lucky enough to be on a management that has some of the best vocalists, out there with Danny King, Misdom, Nina Sung, Gracie Van Brunt, Salvo, to name a few. So love working with them, love working with the team. And to me, an instrumental is one thing, but the vocalist really kind of just brings the whole tune to life more often than not. And that's why I like to incorporate a lot of vocals in my tunes. And yeah, that's kind of my whole creative process. It really is about the music first and then the more electronic sound design second. And it's something that I always vouch to people I mentor is like, when you're listening to a song, what's the most important thing that's going to grab you as a listener? It's the music, it's the hook, it's the vocal. It's not necessarily, this really dope bass, which it could be, but I think the music and the what's the word I'm looking for? How someone can connect to it is the most important thing.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
All right, and then just one more poker question before we really
Please.
go full on
Yeah.
music is like
Yeah.
for being like a professional in that or trying to build up some kind of like name for yourself brand, how much does it mirror music? Because nowadays everyone in music it seems like is like on TikTok promoting their things, blah blah blah. How does it differ in the poker world?
Yeah, so I don't really post too much about my poker career, honestly. Like I know my
Yeah,
brand is all centered about, poker as far as the themes of certain songs, like the Ace of Spades EP, and like my visuals are all poker and card based and whatnot. But I don't post too much about it. There are a ton of like people on social media, like poker influencers, if you will. But to be honest, I'm not super familiar with that world. I don't really focus on it. Honestly, my feed's just filled with music stuff anyway. The poker side of my life is way different. It's a lot more behind the scenes. Like it's me grinding a casino for 10 to 12 hours or, playing online for like 16 straight hours. The poker life isn't as glamorous as people think. It's a lot of sitting at a table and doing absolutely nothing for like 3 hours,
yeah,
and just waiting for your spot. But dude, I love it, man. What I love about poker most is how psychological the game is and how, you meet a lot of different people from different walks of life and just how the human brain works is something I find fascinating and like, in a way taking advantage of that in certain situations. But it's a really fascinating game, and that's why I've always kind of just strived towards it, I think. And I studied psychology in college too, so that also kind
Yeah.
of, gave me a little insight into it.
With that, because you mentioned like knowing how people think can work and whatnot, and then the psychology background too. Is that do you use that at all for like music, whether it's in terms of like what vibe you're trying to get while DJing, or even like what might work in a song or things like that?
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's one of the main skill or most important skills you can have as a DJ is being able to like, okay, read the crowd and figure out, okay, are the people liking it? So they not liking it? What have they liked so far in the set? And I think, that's the issue a lot with people, and I'm at fault of this as well. Like if I have a certain set, like say for a festival plan from start to finish, knowing what I'm going to play after each one, a lot of times that can backfire because say from minute 20 to minute 30, they're not really vibing with this switch up that you're liking. You might have to get out of that quicker. You might lose some people, in the crowd, so it's always observing and always kind of reading and reacting to what's going on in the crowd and, trying to provide the people the best time because at the end of the day, yes, like you want to express yourself as an artist, but also you want to try and gain fans, so I think it's that balance of in between of like, what am I want to play versus what the crowd is enjoying. I think there is a sweet spot with that too, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I think you find that sweet spot for like a while, and I'm sure by the time you reach like huge heights, if you really just go all like what I want to hear, there are probably you probably have fans that mirror that very closely and like would want to hear those same things.
For sure.
And so
Yeah.
if there's someone listening to this who maybe hasn't gotten into your music or has only like seen DJ sets and doesn't really know like the OMAS like production side, what
Hmm.
song of yours would you recommend as like to like get into your music?
What song of mine? That's tough. Okay, so I would say I'll do two songs. Like for the more melodic stuff, definitely Queen of Hearts, I would say is a good place to start. For the heavier stuff, probably King of Diamonds. I think it would give a good, vision of like what my sets may look like for sure.
Are you a music artist trying to find a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible? Then check out DistroKid. DistroKid is a super user-friendly and super easy-to-use service that will make your music available in stores like Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Amazon Music, YouTube, Snapchat, everything. Everything you could imagine, it's available. People will even be able to add your songs into their Instagram stories. DistroKid helps you with the distribution, monetization, and promotion of all of your music. Use the link in the description of this video for 7% off any DistroKid package you want. Pick from musician packages designed to help artists get their own music out there, or even get a label package where you can manage up to 100 artists from one profile. So that's more for like managers, labels, and you can also get the musician package that I mentioned earlier, which is more for artists, producers, things like that. And super easy, and you can get 7% off any package right now with the link in the description of this video. So once again, if you're looking for a way to get your music on as many streaming platforms as possible, I'm talking any platform you can think of, get DistroKid and get 7% off right now with the link in the description. Back to the program. Diving into one of your most popular songs on Spotify right now, Lost in Outer Space. Did you have any like any big moment while you were making it of like, oh, this could be big, or was it just like totally unexpected for you?
This is a fun story. Like this, yeah. So I almost threw away that instrumental.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, this isn't really like my sound even. I'm not like super crazy on it. But then like I revisited and actually the singer on it, Les Gold, who's a buddy of mine from college. He's a singer in an indie pop group. And then I like stumbled on it after like placing it to the side for like a year. And I was like, oh, like we could kind of make some like 2 feet style type, song with this maybe because he's like that style of vocalist, like very indie male power driven vocal. And I was like, okay, Jensen, like, give this one a shot. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I want to see what you do with it. And he just obviously like, absolutely crushed that top line so well. And then we're like, okay, this is a cool song. And but it was like kind of in the realm of like not like super It's electronic, but it has like a kind of blend of like a lot of musicality and stuff that's not really seen, and that's why I compared it to 2 Feet. But we were like, okay, I'm not sure where this can fit as a label, so we just sent it to a bunch. And funny enough, Excision picked that up. That was the first song I released on his label, which I would never thought in a million years he would pick up this kind of like indie crossover electronic tune. But he did, and yeah, like it's still to this day my most streamed track. And most of my friends tell me that that's their favorite track of mine, which is funny enough, but. So it's a lesson to everybody listening out there. Never throw away tracks and always give something a shot. You never know who's going to like it. It's all subjective. And yes, I obviously love the
Yeah.
song now, and I'm very happy that, I went forward with it. But yeah, I have to give a lot of credit to Jensen because he crushed the top line, and I don't think the song would be nearly what it is without his vocal on it.
Yeah, no, it's really you never know where something's gonna go. You never know who's watching or who's listening, and so like really just send it out. Try to get uh never discount something or be like, this won't be anything, whatever your
Exactly.
thoughts are.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, but like I'm super excited to get into what I think is probably my favorite song of yours, at least definitely one of them, is
Mhm.
actually your latest song, Fool for Your Love. Just what can you
Nice.
tell us about what went into that? Anything behind that song?
Yeah, so me and Vinay, Top Ramen, we came out with a collab a couple of years ago on some city called Need Your Touch, which did really well. And we hadn't really worked on anything since. And he's a good buddy of mine, and we kind of came together. He sent me the idea, and he had basically most of like the intro and the first drop kind of oriented already with that melody. And I was like, I already have an idea, so just went like full orchestral, added in some like bass fills, and like me and him worked super well together. We finished both of our tracks really fast after we kind of got the main idea down. And then we actually originally didn't have Nina on the track. We had this kind of like very soulful vocal sample, which I still have that version of it somewhere. But we were not like 100% sold on it. So once we got Nina on the track, she's amazing. She just wrote like a perfect top line. We basically didn't have to have any notes on it, just like mixed it in, threw it on top, and it was good to go. And yeah, lucky enough, Proximity picked it up, and they've been really amazing to work with. They're a legend as far as the label's going, have been around forever, so we're super grateful they picked it up. Yeah, and it's doing well, and it's a really fun song. I usually play it out in almost all my sets. And funny enough, now this isn't really or announced yet, but me and Vinay Top Ramen are doing a co-headline in Denver on January 3rd. So we'll definitely have to celebrate that song even more.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exclusive here. And if you're listening,
Yeah.
I don't know when this is coming out, but if tickets are available, go get tickets. Go catch
Yeah.
them in Denver.
Hopefully I don't get in trouble. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for announcing that. But yeah, it's January 3rd. Just keep an eye out, Denver people.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I was so interested in that song, especially because like I feel like Nina's song is not someone I've gotten into on her own, but I keep like hearing her on project after project, and so I was interested
Yeah.
behind that like
Yeah,
whole process.
she's
And
yeah, she's incredible. She has a song with Illenium people forget like from a few years ago. Like she's
yeah.
like amazing singer, and yeah, she's crushing it. So everyone definitely go check out Nina, please.
Yeah. And so you mentioned this like other version with like a soul sample. Is there any chance that ever sees the light of day, or is that kind of just like one of the versions that led up to what
Um,
got released?
I would like to, like, I was even thinking about asking Proximity if we could just release it as like a little treat. But I'll send it to you for sure if you want to hear it. I have
Awesome.
to get,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I'd love that. I'd love that. Please
yeah,
do.
it's interesting. But yeah, it's for now it's just locked away because we got to talk to Proximity about it since it's like the same instrumental, just slightly different vocal. But I could
Yeah.
see that getting released as like a bonus version one day for
Yeah, I
sure.
totally get like the whole like label side of it, but yeah, send it to me because I'd love to hear like
Easily,
the differences between the two versions.
for sure.
Um and so in terms of the DJing, the music, I mean, obviously, hopefully you're enjoying where you are now, but do you have any kind of like goal or anything like that with your career and your music or somewhere you want to get to?
Yeah, and I think I have a different answer to this than most people. Like, and kind of when I started out, and I was like, okay, like I want to get to the point where I'm able to have a few successful headlines shows in different cities, play some festivals, maybe tour with a few artists. Like, my goal was never to play 300 shows a year. Like, to be honest, that sounds awful to me. And big mad respect to like everybody who does that and wants to do that because it's an amazing goal and like something that a lot of people on Earth don't get to do. But for me, I value my time with my friends, my family, my dog, and like I said with the poker career, like I've kind of gotten to the goal or to my original goal of where I'm at right now. Like I've been able to play some major festivals, tours with some artists, and play shows in different cities and have successful headlines in different cities. But I think for me, it would get to the point where I would be probably playing a little bit more shows, like say like 30 to 50 shows a year rather than what I'm playing now. So maybe like the step or two steps above from where I'm at right now. But yeah, like I don't have the goal of fully touring and like doing that. I would say I'm more select with it, which I think is a special place to be in. Like I'm very grateful for where I'm at right now. And yeah, like I said, it's an answer that's gonna be way different from everybody else.
Yeah, yeah.
But I guess just keep going on the track I'm going, and then if I ever do get the opportunity to do my own headline tour one year, I'd be super grateful to do that. And I'm doing things to make that happen. But yeah, I'm honestly kind of in a weird mental state where I'm trying to figure out where I want to go next, to be honest.
Yeah. No, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I totally get it because I'm a big like family focused person and
Hmm.
like I'm a huge fan of them, but like the chain smokers who I follow, I keep seeing all the traveling that they're doing and going city to city. I'm like, I could never deal with that
Yeah,
travel schedule.
exactly.
They're
It's
like, yeah,
impressive.
this weekend we're going to Vegas, China, and Singapore or
Yeah,
whatever it is. And I'm like, in a weekend, like I
that's
could do like
wild.
Vegas in a weekend and
Ex
maybe that's it.
exactly. It's wild, man. Like I don't like flying very much. So like it would
That makes
make it
it
even
tough.
worse. Yeah. But yeah, it's super impressive what, the top dogs can do like that. But yeah, that was
Yeah.
never I wouldn't say it wasn't never my goal, but it's been a realization of mine that's not my top goal.
Yeah. And that's totally fine because there's
Mhm.
no need or no pressure to like push yourself to what the other top people are doing. Like you can make your own lane, your own style, which
Exactly.
is awesome. And so
Exactly.
if you got a chance with your own original production to make a song with like any collaborator, who would you want to collaborate with?
Few answers. I mean, Arl Grimes, he's been my biggest influence since like
Yeah.
day one. Apache, for sure. I met Apache for the first time at Los Angeles past year, and
That's
I
awesome.
was sitting it was like 2 p.m. on Sunday. I was sitting in the artist area. I totally fangirled. I was just sitting there. I see him walk by. I was like, "Wait, you're Apache." I was like, "Please say hello to me. Please like me." But no, but that was really cool. But yeah, he was awesome. And I think what he's doing right now with the full brass orchestra and these live shows is like truly incredible. Like it's the best electronic show I've seen in a long time. And him, and then probably other than that, Odessa for sure, just because I think as far as production value goes and putting on a live show, no one gets even close to
They're
them. Like
insane.
absolutely nobody, at least that I've seen. And other than that, yeah, like I mean, it would be interesting like Hans Zimmer, obviously, just because I would love, the orchestral stuff. But those would be probably my top four, I would say.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Mhm.
And with all the like festivals and sets that you've played, is there one that really sticks in your mind or you see as like your favorite set that you've done?
Um, yeah, I probably have two answers. Like I playing bass cannon this for the first year this time was awesome because I've never been to the Gorge. And that was just like a special place to be in general. So that was really, really cool and just getting the experience to be at that iconic venue. But I think my favorite festival I played so far was this year's past Lost Lands. It was my third time playing Lost Lands and kind of like got to the point where, I'm actually having now like a pretty legitimate crowd at my sets. And my meet and greet had a bunch of people where people were following me for a lot of years, and it just made me feel super grateful for the project. It just felt a lot more special, not more special because every year I've played there has been absolutely amazing, but it's kind of been an accumulation of what I've been building up
Yeah.
to for this
It's
past year. And
it's a
yeah,
good
just
indicator that you are building. This is working. Like just kind of way back to where we started in this. Like it's validation that like you're on
exactly.
the you're doing it. You're doing it. And
Exactly.
so
Yeah. And yeah, the coolest part about this festival was at the meet and greet. This group of five fans came up to me at the meet and greet after and like, hey, like we've been following you for a while, and we've actually all decided to get a tattoo of each song in your EP with Subsidia. So like each person will choose a song. And I thought that was amazing and
that's
like the
so
coolest thing I've
awesome.
ever, yeah, the coolest thing I've ever heard as an artist. Yeah, that was amazing. That was just an amazing feeling to have.
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure, I'm sure.
Mhm.
And sort of building off of that, not to like blow right past these amazing sets that you're having, but if do you have any kind of like bucket list festivals or venues that you would love to play at?
Yeah, I think for sure Red Rocks obviously is just one I would love to have the opportunity to play at. The Mission Ball or not, sorry, yeah, Mission Ball would be great. That's not what I was thinking of though. What's the place in New York? Oh, the Brooklyn
Bowery
Mirage.
Ballroom?
Yeah, Brooklyn Mirage. Just because I've been to a bunch of
Yeah.
shows there, and that is a special place in my heart. funny enough, as far as like a quote unquote smaller venue, it just has a special place in my heart as well. Growing up, like my first ever electronic shows after, or during college, I guess, was at Avalon in LA. And I know a lot of people don't necessarily love that venue, but for me, I love it. And I've had so many times there. And I think that would just be special. That's like kind of a full circle moment to come back there. So those would be the three that come to mind for sure.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Mhm.
And in terms of like, because I saw it a lot while trying to learn more about you. This I'll call it a logo that you have like for OMAS, the like O with kind of the line down the middle. Where
Mhm.
does that come from, or is there any like meaning behind it?
Yeah, I wish it, I wish there was a better story with the logo. But no, I had this designer, Eric Schilling, who I worked with a lot in the past, and kind of gave him some ideas. I definitely wanted something focused around the O, and saw a lot of different artists that had this kind of like symbol that when you saw it, like that's said artist, and I wanted that too. And honestly, like I have to give a lot of credit to Eric. Like he did a really good job on just making the O from OMAS be a little bit more unique and symbolized. And that's really it. The artist did a really amazing job. And I've used that same logo forever.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
that's awesome. That's an awesome story. And it's really I like a lot of people I talk to are like, oh, it was just the blah, blah, blah. It's not the coolest story, but it's like I'm not always looking for the coolest story. I just like am
Mhm.
interested in truly how it came about or like the honest story
Yeah.
really. Um, but yeah, that's totally cool. And I get what you're saying because it is a cool thing of like I feel like a bit more than other genres, DJs and producers really have like logos that they go by. Like you see that like I guess it's
Mhm.
kind of like wings for Illenium and it's like you just like know that that's them. And so it's a huge thing and definitely hopefully helps with your own brand and everything.
Definitely.
But
Yeah.
just a couple more questions to start wrapping things up. Is there a song of yours that's your favorite song that you've
Ah,
made?
that's so hard.
Which, like, yeah, it's totally fine to
Yeah.
not have an answer, have
Um,
a bunch of answers,
no,
all fine.
honestly, I can answer. I think like the Queen of Hearts is probably my favorite song I've ever made.
Hmm.
Purely because it kind of like emulates the style I've always wanted to go for, like this big epic trap cinematic thing. And Danny King's been one of my close friends in the industry for a long time, and she absolutely crushed it. I think that song is special to me because it was the first time I kind of combined the poker aspect into my music world. Obviously the whole EP kind of came together like that, but for me it's a really special tune because that was kind of like the bridge that I've always tried to like, how can I combine these two very different things? You know what I mean? I slowly think I'm starting to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And you
Yeah,
always, like you mentioned earlier, have hints of it or little aspects and cover arts and visuals and things like that.
hmm.
So yeah, I think you're definitely blending the two well.
Thank you, man.
And yeah, and then the last question I have, I guess, is on top of this Denver co-headlines that you have, what's just coming up for you or what's next for OMAS?
Yeah, I've got one more. I'm doing a self-release with Danny King at the end of or beginning of December. That'll be my last song out of the year.
Hmm.
The Denver show in January. We're talking to certain festivals right now about next year. I can't say anything about those yet,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
totally understand.
But no, there's a lot of like bigger collaborations in the works. I've got some songs with Ravenscoon, another one with Sully coming out soon, Lucid, a bunch of the Wakong guys actually. And me and Code Pandorm are almost done with our second collab as well. But yeah, and then we're just working on shows for next year. We're gonna do another thing in LA, hopefully something in San Francisco for a headline, and then yeah, that's everything I think on the docket for now. Oh,
Yeah.
well, no, I can't say anything about that yet. Okay, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's everything you can share. That's all I'm
yeah,
talking for now,
exactly.
which is
Yeah,
totally fine. Yeah, I mean, I'm based out here in LA for school, so whenever you come out, I'd love to come catch a set because I
nice
I haven't gotten the chance to see live. But
for
if you get
sure.
the chance to see Omos live, definitely get tickets to this Denver show again if they're available on the time that this podcast comes
Yes.
out. And I guess to wrap things up, I'll hand it over to you. If people are surfing the web, where can they find your way, find your music, everything like that?
Yeah, just OMAS Music on all platforms. And everyone listening, like, feel free to shoot me a message. Like, I respond to everything. If you're wondering about anything I said in the podcast, or looking for mentoring or production lessons, or just want to say hello, like, I literally respond to everything. I think that's really important. So
Huge. Yeah.
please,
No, I really
yeah,
respect that. And I want to
yeah,
mirror that because, like, yeah, I've mostly from this podcast ran into people who are very, like, one-on-one. I want to be in touch with everything. And also people who are, like, have the management team, all that. And it's just another level of, like, I guess another, like, level of authenticity or really helps you connect with the artist when it's them, like,
totally.
truly
Yeah,
answering.
I think it's really important. I think it's unfortunately a lot of artists out there miss out by not doing it. But yeah, like I said, like anybody, feel free to hit me up, and if I can help in any way with your journey or production or anything, just don't hesitate at all. I'm friendly, I promise.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much. I think it was a great time and can't wait to see what's coming up for you rest of this year and into next year.
For sure. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me on.